iPhone SE 2020 versus iPhone 10 speed test coming up. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Welcome to the iPhone SE 2020 versus iPhone 10 speed test. We'll begin with a boot up in 3, 2, 1. Now, keep in mind, I did do the iPhone 8 versus this, so this is a similar chipset, but the iPhone 8 doesn't have the same amount of RAM. This has 3 gigs of RAM. This one has 2 gigs of RAM, plus some want to see how their iPhone 10 performs next to this new boy. And you could see that the iPhone 10, pretty compact body as well, but still giving you a lot more screen. The iPhone SE over here definitely loses here on the boot up to the iPhone 10. Okay guys, so when it comes to biometrics, you can see the iPhone SE is very fast, extremely quick to unlock. Now, I will state, I do like how you don't really even have to look at the phone. You can kind of just know where Touch ID is. You can pull out of your pocket, not even be looking, and you're in. So I think it's a little bit of a faster experience. However, the Face ID has something up its sleeve. If you have greasy fingers or something like that, while it's a little bit slower, I think because you have to look and then swipe, it is more secure also. It's harder to break Face ID and authentication than it is the Touch ID. So you can choose between speed or security, but both of them are very quick. And by the way, that's not saying that the SE is not secure. It's just saying that you get a little bit better security on the iPhone 10. Now, confirming their software, you can see they're both on 13.4.1 as of the recording of this video. Also, I do have to state that the iPhone 10 feels a little bit smoother when it comes to the gesture system. So you do have to keep in mind when buying the SE 2020, you are getting that more older iPhone feel with that device. So don't think just because it's a processor beast upgrade that it feels smoother than like a gesture-based iPhone. I just don't think it feels smoother. Okay guys, so we've arrived at the app test of this video. You can see everything closed out on both. Let's go to clock. You can see very similar there. Now the gestures is faster than the home button though. So keep that in mind if you're deciding between a gesture-based iPhone and a home button iPhone. It's a little bit quicker experience on the iPhone 10. The iPhone 10 wins there on weather. We'll go into App Store. You can see iPhone SE there. We'll go over to games. When you start loading up content, the SE is showing that sheer processing performance here on both devices. So let's come home here. Let's go into PUBG Mobile. And I think the SE will beat the iPhone 10 here as well on loading up PUBG Mobile. So yeah, while the iPhone 10 might look cooler with its notch and, you know, all screen display, you know, the iPhone SE is a faster performer over there. So we'll hit the X on here. We'll go to start match. So you would think just looking at these two phones, it's like putting a turbo engine in an older car, twin turbo in an older body. You would never know what you're pulling up next to. That's the SE right there. So yeah, faster in PUBG as well. But again, the gestures is a smoother experience. We'll go into Dead Trigger 2, but I don't think that's gonna bother most people buying this because it's $399. We'll hit play and we'll see which one can get into this game first. Looks like the SE says not today, iPhone 10. And so the iPhone 10 slower so far and a lot of this content. We'll go into Instagram, 3, 2, 1. And see which one is quicker, SE or iPhone. Yep, SE again. So we have to really respect what's in the body of that device. That is an internal powerhouse over there on the left. Not to say that the iPhone 10 isn't, it's also a powerhouse, but it's a little bit less of a powerhouse. You can see Twitter, we'll go to profile, and pretty similar there. Now we'll go to eBay, but will this make a big difference? Probably not. You probably wouldn't even notice this unless you were comparing them like we see in this video. What you'll notice more is the body, the cameras, the battery, but it's still fun to see what happens here. Amazon goes to the right. And we'll go into iMovie here now, an Apple-based app, and pretty similar. I didn't even see that one, but it was pretty close. Let's go into Geekbench 5. And you can see Geekbench 5 to the right, and we'll go home and we'll go into Antutu. And we'll be doing a benchmark a little bit later in this test. So the SE seems to be loading this up faster than the 10. So the SE wins there, and here comes the 10. So I would say overall, the processing performance looked a bit quicker on the SE, especially in the App Store when we were loading up the content. The PUBG, Dead Trigger 2 opened quicker, Instagram opened quicker, Twitter was fast. Not to say that this phone isn't fast, it just feels smoother with the gestures, but the SE is quicker so far in this test versus the iPhone 10. Okay, so let's go through the applications on the SE to see how this does feel when going through apps. Now, if you are doing a lot of stuff, this will probably pause some things. It may even hang if you have a lot of apps open because it's only 3 gigs, but that A13 optimization should help this thing out, staying as smooth as possible with the least amount of RAM. I mean, a lot of competing Android phones have a lot more RAM, but if you also take a look at how they perform in benchmarks, the SE still seems to beat most of them, even things like the S20, which is like $1,000. We'll go over here to Antutu, and you can see not a big difference, but the experience, look how smooth that looks. It's just so smooth right there. So you might not want to give up this gesture feel for that home button, but you may not care about that. But the iPhone 10 has also been known to close some things, like you'll be watching a YouTube video, you'll go to a couple other apps, come back to YouTube, and it'll reload because the RAM couldn't hold it in the background. So overall, I would say in RAM, they do the best they can with the least amount of RAM at 3 gigs. There is iPhones with less, but that's pretty low. I'd like to see 4 gigs on this phone actually. Thumbs up if you would have liked to see that as well. Okay, so we're in the internet, and here's the thing. They both have True Tone. The iPhone 10 is just a much nicer display to do web browsing, but is it faster than, this is a speed test, so is it faster than the new SE? We're gonna find out right now. But there is something to be said about the SE as well. No notch means no notch cutting into your content on this phone, which a lot of people will like. Also LCD, some people prefer LCD, and the SE wins there at a rocket speed of 98.9 ms versus 144.1. A rocket performer in internet browsing is the SE. Okay, so let's take both phones now to iMovie, and we have the same 1 minute and 40-second clip on both of these. We're gonna save these out in 4K to see which one can export this faster. So we'll hit save video here, and we're gonna do 4K. 3, 2, 1. I'll be back when they are done. Well, somehow, some way, the iPhone 10 has beat the SE in this iMovie, the same videos on both. Maybe we need some updates to better work with this SE. We'll see. No excuse though. iPhone 10 said, shut up, Nick. It's my day to shine in iMovie. Let's go over here to Geekbench 5, and we're gonna run a CPU benchmark just to see which one does better in synthetic benchmarking. I'll be back when they are done. Okay, so here are your final Geekbench scores, and the iPhone SE has taken down the iPhone 10 as expected, but not by much. Let's just put it that way. It's not by much, but still has taken it down. Let's go into Antutu benchmark now, and we're gonna go ahead and test these out to see which can pull in the better score. But I can tell you so far, what I'm feeling is that it's not a huge bump in performance, but it is a change in design, a huge change if you go to the iPhone SE. But if you wanted a smaller phone again, it's gonna be great for you. I'll be back when these are done with their final scores. So the final Antutu scores are in, and I think there's some pretty nice scores on the iPhone 10, but they don't beat the SE. They don't even come close. So big jump there, at least in that test. Now we're gonna go ahead now and just kind of run a Wi-Fi speed test to see if the Wi-Fi performance has improved for this device over here, or if it's about the same. Now I will state that this phone has been showing me a little bit better mobile performance, like on LTE. So let's go ahead and hit go. I'll be back when the SE is done. And so the SE is done with 238 down, 11.9 up. That's pretty similar to what I got in my previous speed test. You can see iPhone 10 is ready to rock and roll. Let's see if it can match that performance on Wi-Fi to the SE. It's looking pretty close so far. I'll be back when they are done. So 232, not quite beating the SE, but pretty much matches it. So I think throughout this entire video, you're seeing that Apple has created a powerhouse in a small body here, definitely beating out most of its other iPhones in its lineup, with the only exception being the iPhone 11, the 11 Pro, Pro Max. Those phones are still faster than this device, but not by much. I mean, in some areas, the SE will still feel faster than those. So this is top-notch performance here, but should you trade an iPhone 10, be subscribed to see the full comparison between those two. Thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to be well, and peace.